Hey beauty! Welcome to Books and Looks, where I talk about the latest book that I read while I get ready with you guys. And today's book is Woman Down by Colleen Hoover. I just finished it, so let's talk about it. This is Colleen's latest novel, and I was actually a little bit hesitant after reading some of the reviews, but I'm really glad. This is why reading's subjective. What isn't someone's favorite book is somebody else's favorite book. I was hesitant just because of all the reviews, but I was actually really pleasantly surprised. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I actually really enjoyed it because a lot of people were comparing it similar to Verity, and I really enjoyed Verity. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. So it's about a girl named Petra Rose who's an author, and she goes to this remote cabin, and that's where she always does some of her best writing because it's remote. She can kind of get away from all the backlash. Getting a lot of backlash on her latest novel and the movie adaptation. It just flopped. And she gets there, and immediately there's a police officer at her door telling her that there was almost a murder-suicide happening down the road from her. And she's already super freaked out. And she's like, okay, that this police officer kind of looks like the police officer in her novel. So she's already super intrigued by that. And she's already like, okay, I'm inspired. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my laptop and start writing a book about this cop. And also, while she's at this cabin, she's also got some pretty interesting landlord slash neighbor people, which I really enjoyed their character as well. She's got a woman next door that's kind of like in everybody's business. Like she wants to know the down low. She wants to know what's going on here. She wants to know what's going on there. She also really just wants some friends to talk to too. So the cop's name is Saint, and he basically tells her like, I'm going to need a written review on what is going on, your say about the whole thing. So I'll come back tomorrow and get your statement. So the next day comes around, and he hasn't really run around or anything. So she goes and sends him a text message, and he says he'll be there within the hour. So he comes by and tells her that he really doesn't need a statement. He kind of just wanted to come and talk to her, check in on her, and see how things are doing. And she tells him about her story and that there's basically a cop in her story named Cam. And that kind of gets him intrigued. He's like, okay, well, what do you need to know? And she starts using him basically as her muse, and she starts asking him questions about his job so that she can put it in her book. And she starts telling him things that are going on in the book. So she's like, okay, well, the police officer Cam would be doing this in the story. And he starts playing out all of those things. He kind of tries to give her inspiration for the story and progresses things along. And in the story, the police officer is actually having an affair with one of the characters. And she finds out that Saint is married because he wears his wedding ring. But then they start playing out some of the fantasy stories. I thought the book started getting really good because she decides one night that she wants to follow him and see where he lives and more about his story. And he ends up catching her, and he's like, no, we're not going to do this. You're not going to follow me because my wife will find out. You're going to stay here, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing in secret. And this is a spoiler review, so the story gets even crazier when you find out that Petra has a husband and 2 children. Now, up until this part of the story, you really didn't know that about Petra yourself as the reader, and I actually enjoyed that. Like, we had no idea Petra had a complete family outside of just being an author. She never said anything. Chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, she never said anything about having a husband and children up until they come and they surprise her at the cabin, and you're like, and she's immediately going into panic mode because she does not want Saint to come to the cabin. So the story took a wild, crazy turn there. I was like, oh my God, her man's about to find out that she's been with this other man. And then she's got 2 kids. Like, I was like, are you kidding me right now? Things do start to be getting pretty tense here between their relationship. And she pretty much calls it off. Like, she's not very much wanting to do it anymore. She's like, okay, you know what? This is not good. You're doing something bad. I'm doing something bad. 2 wrongs don't make it right. We're not going to be doing this anymore. She stops at this gas station. She goes inside, talks to the clerk, and she decides that she wants the newspaper. She's looking at this newspaper, and she's like, this doesn't look like a new newspaper because it doesn't say anything about that murder-suicide that first happened when she got there. She goes and she asks him, she's like, well, hey, what happened to that murder-suicide that happened so-and-so weeks ago? And the guy's like, what are you talking about? At that point, that creepy landlord family over there with the husband and the wife, the husband comes into the gas station, and she's talking, and she's like, hey, do you remember this event happened? And he's looking at her, and he's like, no, I never said anything. So she thinks he has amnesia and is just not remembering things. Besides, she needs to go talk to her friend who lives in that same house. She goes to the house next door to hers, and she's banging on the door, and she's like, yo, you're gonna tell me what the heck is happening right now because you said that this was a real thing. So Come to find out, she ends up telling Petra that when all of this happened, she was a very bored woman. She was very lonely at her house and she needed something to do and she needed amusement. She needed something to happen. So she said she walked down the path and there was this guy at the bottom of the road setting up this fake crime scene, making it look like actually something happened. And he paid her to lie and put this whole elaborate story together. So she was kind of a little bit in on it. She finds out that Saint isn't his actual name and he's not actually a detective police officer. He's just a random guy. At this point, Petra's like, I'm getting the hell out of Dodge. I'm leaving. I'm not dealing with this man anymore. The story kind of a little bit fast forward. She ends up, finishing her book, getting super successful over it, and then she ends up going on this tour. So in this tour, there's a whole bunch of people there. This is her first tour from coming back, and lo and behold, who is in the tour audience with a book in his hand? Saint. He has a question for her, and he says, Petra, what was the inspiration behind this book? And she's like freaking out at this point because she's like, you need to get the heck out of here. Like, you're not gonna be here right now. You're basically stalking me at this point. So Petra starts to like unwind a little bit. She doesn't see him in the audience anymore. She's answering questions, taking pictures with the people. He's writing. She ends up seeing him talking to her publisher, that one publisher, best friend of hers. And she's like, hold up, why are these two talking to each other? These two know each other? Like, what is going on? She finishes writing her book and then she steps out and she goes outside of this bookstore and she sees that they are continuing to talk to each other. Things look a little serious. And in my head, when I was reading it, I was thinking, okay, now he's going after the best friend. Like, he's starting to date the best friend to get to Petra. And then you find out that this best friend of hers, I'm doing a lot of air quotes today, but you come to find out that this best friend of hers put this whole elaborate plan together for inspiration for Petra to write this book. I mean, do we love it because she is a ride or die and gave her pointers and helped her write this amazing, fantastic story? Or do we hate her because what the actual hell, you put me in danger? So see, this story has like a million twists and turns to it. I loved it. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I will see you guys in the next book review. Bye!